I've gotta keep the calm before the storm. I don't want less, I don't want more. Must bar the windows and the doors to keep me safe, to keep me warm. Yeah, my life is what I'm fighting for. Can't part the sea, can't reach the shore. And my voice becomes the driving force. I won't let this pull me overboard. Gotta keep my head above water, don't let me drown. It gets harder, I'll meet you there at the altar as I fall down to my knees. Don't let me drown, drown, drown. Don't let me drown.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning back in to Turning White Trash into Gold. Rubber bands the stretches of your life. Sorry that it has been a while since I have recorded. A lot has happened over the last 2 months. But I wanted to check back in with y'all and tell y'all thank you for all the downloads. We've got thousands and thousands. It's went worldwide. I've covered almost every state in the United States. And I left y'all hanging, and I did not mean to do that. But the holidays and a lot of dates kind of triggering, and just a lot more happened that I'll get to later when we get that far. But I was going to pick up on that March 24th court date a week later after the March 17th. So we go back to court, and we just knew Kingsley was going to come home that day. We had a courtroom full of people out in the waiting room, but the judge said this would not be a trial. This would be a preliminary hearing. And we thought it was going to be a trial. So we had all those subpoenaed there. Those that were family that were on our side and helped us know what Paula had done, that I had mentioned earlier recordings about admitting the reasons that she did this to be vindictive and because I deserved it. And also she shows up and she shows up with a processor to serve me with the lawsuit papers. The lawsuit that she did not think I was privy to, but she had also changed that lawsuit and taken out some things and added some things, but it was all still about the same thing, as a reminder to do with me cutting off her utilities, which I was in my rights to do, and had already answered her about that with a lawyer letter back in November of 21. And then the processor set up shop right outside the room we were in. Others were out in the waiting area along with Paula, and she was alone. Nobody was with her. But he set up shop for a good hour before the bailiff made me open the door and let him in, and she was not kind at all. And then I had my childhood friend there, and my husband's high school buddy, his wife was there, and my childhood friend and the wife of my husband's friend were sitting in different areas of the lobby and didn't know each were there. And Paula is in the lobby screaming, "I have her license in my wallet. That's her. She has to take the papers." And they're both texting me simultaneously, "Why does Paula have your license?" And that's because she stole them while on the cruise, because I came off the cruise and mentioned that I had my passport but not my license, which I had bagged together, and I knew where they were. And Paula, having broken into everything, which I'm working on legally because I have the proof of that, knew, because she was in my email, that I had ordered a new license. And so 4 days after I did that, she sends me a text asking, did I say I could not find my license? And I reply, yes. And she says, "Oh, well, they're in my wallet." "Why are they in your wallet?" So she's out there screaming that she has my license, and my friends are like, "Why is she saying that?" And I'm like, "Because she stole them." But the bailiff does nothing to her. So we wait like 2 to 3 hours because we never went in the courtroom. It was my attorney, the DHR attorney, the judicial assistant, the Calhoun County DHR worker, the CASA worker, and the CASA GAL, who had not met my son, spoken to him in person, only that 5-minute conversation on the phone prior to the March 17th court date. Everybody was on board with sending Kingsley home, except the GAL with CASA. She was insistent that he was in danger and he did not need to come home, and wanted the venue to be changed again. And my lawyer, C.C. Freeman with Maples, Tucker, and Jacob out of Birmingham, Alabama law firm, is a bulldog, and she fought for me on that and said, where are you going to change the venue to? She's had a 20-year career in social work. She's worked in prisons and jails and been in all kinds of courtrooms. So the judge was against changing the venue, but he would not buck the GAL and override her, because then she could have appealed the case. So we had to accept that, and the judge pushed the next court date out, which would be the trial, because this was the preliminary hearing where he heard all the evidence, and he was okay with sending Kingsley home, but the GAL made that not happen. And he pushed it out till May 12th, 2022. This is March 24th, 2022 that we were in the courtroom or courthouse. All that to say, the next day, the GAL recused herself from the case. I know, you're like, what? Yeah. So she threw an absolute fit in there. Never met my son, never talked to my son, because this is the second GAL on the case and the one that did speak to my son for the 5 minutes prior to March 17th. But recused herself from the case, which meant now we didn't have a GAL, so we hoped we could still have that May date, because she waited less than 24 hours to come back and recuse herself from being on the case after throwing a buck and not allowing Kingsley to come home because he was in danger, she says. So we had to leave with a lot of questions and no answers that we really still don't have to this day. A lot of the same questions y'all have. There's so many details to fill in, and I'm going to do that on the next episode. Thank y'all for hanging in there. I know that it's been a lot waiting for me to give the next episode, but he did not come home March 24th. He did not come home. And the court date was set out, I guess that's about 6 weeks. He was willing, judge pushed aside all he could to get us in much sooner than what might have been 6 to 8, maybe months, maybe even a year from that preliminary hearing. So we were thankful for that. But the next 6 weeks were detrimental to my marriage. My husband and I pulled even further apart. I began leaning on my aunt a lot. It was an aunt by marriage. It was my mother's brother who's deceased. It was his wife. And I leaned on her and my cousin a lot, Brittany. She's really been a rock for us and Kingsley. And then Nicole, who I record with a lot. I am not recording with her right now. But she was upset about that. She wanted to be part of it. So I will record with her in the coming episodes, because we have some traumas of hers that we were involved with that happened in the interim of everything going on that we want to discuss and bring awareness to as well. So I've met a lot of y'all along the way. I've met y'all in the Target checkout line. I've met y'all at the gas station. I've met you at the gas pump. I've met you in different stores and grocery stores and Walmarts and you name it. I have met you, and I'm so thankful for y'all listening to me and hearing the tidbits of my story and then going and listening to the episodes. Because it's important to get the awareness out there. I pray to one day God, has my voice planned to be on the TV, on a talk show, talking about the injustice of the child welfare system and hopefully being able to make some change. Because just exactly what happened to us, the opposite happens to other people. And I've had to use my voice in this interim of months of not recording. I've been able to use my voice, and due to what I've been through, I knew exactly which route to take and how to get things handled before more severe things went down with some children. So those episodes are to come, but that's some of what has happened in the interim of me not recording. Lots of stuff, lots of questions I know y'all have. I do want to highlight that during all of this, from the day they removed him January 10th, my husband and I spent $1,000 in drug screens. DHR was supposed to pay for drug screens. That happened for a hot second, and then we decided at the beginning that we were going to pay for our own as well, because they would not give us a copy when we would go. And we said we don't trust DHR. We want our own copy. But that was on our own accord. But then it got to the point where DHR couldn't get their ducks in a row, and orders to pay for it never happened. So then what do you do if you didn't have the money to be able to do that? Because it's $50 a week, $25 a person, if you're only testing once a week each person. And then they changed the drug testing facility from Task to another one. I don't even know the name of it now, in downtown Birmingham. I remember going during a monsoon and dealing with American Express simultaneously that day because more identity theft happened with that. Just to be told that they didn't have what they needed and could not drug screen me. So I had to go back across town to Task because we had already set up to where we could pay to be screened. And I wasn't about to not have drug screens just because DHR didn't have their ducks in a row to pay for it. Because don't you know, that would have been a whole nother nightmare. And in the interim of doing the drug screens, I had been going, and the same lady had been testing me every time I went. And this one time, I felt like I was molested and raped without even being touched. Just watching me intensely, wanting me to show things and sit certain ways so certain things could be seen on my body. It made me I vomited when I left. And then my husband, I think it was that same week, because we didn't always go test together. It would be the same day, but we might not be at the same time there. He overhydrated and is lucky that it did not kill him. It almost sent him to the hospital. My friend Nicole's doctor friend, we spoke to him and felt like that watching him overnight, he was going to be okay, but he all but could have died from overhydration, which is a thing. And so the money spent on these drug screens and then the trauma behind having to do them was awful. And mind you, this lady had been screening me now. We're in March. I've been doing it since January. She had never treated me that way. I don't know the reason that it happened that way, but I had to do it, and Keith had to do it. And it was very, very traumatizing. So Paula was there alone. I did hire the processor. Karma's kind of funny because she ended up having to pay him hundreds and hundreds of dollars, and we got to watch her have to do that right in front of us because he was mad that he had to wait so long to serve me. And then she wanted to make sure that she caught me on by myself at that courthouse, and she did as I was coming out of the restroom. But revenge is not mine. And I just held my head high and kept walking. God has a reason and a plan for all we've been through, and I will use that to share our testimony and hopefully heal others and ourselves, but to make awareness too. I feel like that, He totally has a plan behind everything that's happened. I'm starting to see now, a little over a year later, some of that plan come to fruition. We are nowhere near that in the podcast, but no, hold tight to your faith and don't give up, even in your darkest days. I have so much more details to get out there. And if you've met me, you know some stuff that I will never disclose on here. And so thank you for listening to me. And I hope that y'all are enjoying the podcast as far as learning and hopefully humbling yourselves, because the trauma and nightmares that we have been through have definitely humbled us to no end. And I will say that still to this day, I do not speak to my family, and I never will, because they're toxic. And forgiveness is within, but that does not mean that you have to carry a relationship with someone that is toxic. But to forgive is to give yourself peace. So Kingsley wants to talk. I'm going to let him do so, and I'm going to ask him questions and let him respond. So y'all give me just a second to get him headsetted up here. Okay, Kingsley. Okay. Tell him your name.
My name is Kingsley Sanner.
Okay. How old are you today?
9.5.
That's right.
Today.
How old